The First World War introduced horrors of industrialized killing that the world had never seen before. Trench warfare, machine guns, heavy artillery, and barbed wire transformed the conflict into a brutal war of attrition. Yet, in April 1915 on the Western Front in Belgium, a new and terrifying weapon of war was unleashed for the very first time: poison gas. At the Second Battle of Ypres, the German army released chlorine gas, marking the beginning of chemical warfare and forever altering the nature of modern conflict. Background: the stalemate on the Western Front. By early 1915, the Western Front had descended into deadlock. Both the Allies and the Germans were entrenched across northern France and Belgium, unable to achieve a decisive breakthrough. The German High Command, frustrated by the static nature of trench warfare, sought new methods to break the deadlock. One of these methods was the use of chemical agents, developed with the help of German chemist Fritz Haber, often called the father of chemical warfare. While international treaties such as the 1899 Hague Declaration and the 1907 Hague Convention prohibited the use of poison or poison weapons, Germany argued that gas could be justified since other powers had already experimented with tear gas and irritants. What Germany planned, however, went far beyond irritants. It was a devastating weapon of mass suffocation. The battlefield: Ypres, Belgium. The town of Ypres, located in Flanders, Belgium, had already been the site of a bloody battle in 1914, where the Allies halted the German advance. In April 1915, the Germans launched a renewed offensive to break through the Ypres salient, a bulge in the Allied line that was strategically vulnerable. It was here, on April 22, 1915, that the world witnessed the dawn of chemical warfare. The first gas attack, April 22, 1915. At around 5 p.m. on April 22, the German forces released over 150 tons of chlorine gas from nearly 6,000 cylinders positioned along a 4-mile front between Steenstraat and Langmark. A greenish-yellow cloud drifted toward the Allied trenches, carried by the wind. The first troops hit were French colonial soldiers of the Algerian and Moroccan divisions. Unprepared and unaware of what was happening, the soldiers inhaled the chlorine gas, which reacted with moisture in their lungs to form hydrochloric acid. This caused choking, burning in the throat and chest, violent coughing, and eventually suffocation. Eyewitnesses described the horror: men gasping for breath, eyes burning, skin blistering, and many collapsing where they stood. Within minutes, thousands were dead or dying, and entire sections of the French line collapsed. A massive 4-mile gap opened in the Allied defenses. Canadian resistance and improvised defenses. The Germans, perhaps unprepared for the scale of their success, hesitated to fully exploit the breach. This delay allowed reinforcements to move in, particularly the 1st Canadian Division, who faced subsequent gas attacks in the following days. The Canadians quickly improvised countermeasures. Soldiers urinated on rags, socks, or handkerchiefs and held them to their faces. The ammonia in the urine neutralized some of the chlorine gas, allowing them to breathe long enough to fight back. Despite horrific casualties, the Canadians managed to hold the line at places like Kitchener's Wood, preventing a complete German breakthrough. The aftermath and casualties. The Second Battle of Ypres lasted from April 22 to May 25, 1915. While the Germans achieved some territorial gains, they failed to break through decisively. Casualties. Around 100,000 men were killed, wounded, or gassed during the battle. Thousands of soldiers survived but suffered permanent lung damage, blindness, or other long-term effects. The psychological impact was immense. Soldiers now lived in constant fear of invisible, deadly clouds drifting across the battlefield. For the first time in history, poison gas had been used on a large scale, and it proved both effective and terrifying. Escalation of chemical warfare. The attack at Ypres set a grim precedent. Both sides soon developed their own chemical weapons, leading to an escalating arms race of toxins. Chlorine gas was followed by phosgene, much deadlier, and eventually mustard gas, which burned the skin and lungs. By the end of World War I, chemical weapons had caused nearly 1.3 million casualties, including over 90,000 deaths. Though the weapon rarely decided battles outright, its psychological and humanitarian impact was devastating. Legacy of Ypres. The first poison gas attack at Ypres is remembered as a turning point in the history of warfare. It demonstrated the terrifying possibilities of modern science applied to killing, and it left deep scars on the soldiers who experienced it. In the post-war years, chemical weapons were widely condemned, leading to the 1925 Geneva Protocol, which prohibited their use in war. Yet the horror of Ypres remained a stark warning about the dangers of chemical warfare, a warning that still resonates today. The Second Battle of Ypres in 1915 marked the dawn of chemical warfare, forever changing the face of conflict. The introduction of poison gas not only added a new dimension of terror to the battlefield but also highlighted the brutal ingenuity of industrialized war. Soldiers at Ypres faced not just bullets and shells but the invisible, suffocating cloud of chlorine, an enemy against which bravery and training offered little defense. The memory of Ypres stands as a haunting reminder of the cost of war and the dark potential of scientific advancement when turned toward destruction.